Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you all today. Do you hear us? Do you see us well? Just give us a sign. Okay, great. So we are very happy to welcome you at our webinar, STEM versus STEAM, Basic Concepts and Differences, organized as part of Meet and Code project, together with our friends and supporters, Skriware. My name is Nataliia Shkurka. I'm a Meet and Code project manager at TechSoup Europe, and I will be your host for today. First of all, I would like to give you just a quick overview of Meet and Code for those of you who have never heard anything about this inspiring and engaging initiative. So launched in 2017 by the founding partners, SAP, House des Stiftens, TechSoup Europe, with the respective country partners of the TechSoup Europe network, Meet and Code sparks interest in digital learning to children and young adults through a series of fun and interactive workshops. The goal of the project is to encourage participants to develop and prepare skills needed for their future, both personal and professional aspirations related to coding and digital technologies. Throughout 6 editions of the project, more than 6,000 coding events were organized by local and non-profits that reached more than 240,000 young people in 35 European countries. And today, during our Meet and Code webinar, we have a very exciting topic to discuss together with our guest, Viktor Bohdanov from Skriware, a Poland-based startup focusing on educational technology solutions. This year, in line with Meet and Code, Skriware gave away 3 robots to Polish non-profit organizations who made the best highlights of their coding events on social medias in Poland. So let me introduce our guest speaker today. It's Viktor Bohdanov from Skriware. He is an educational trainer specializing in implementation of the STEAM approach at modern schools. Master degree holder in English philology, as well as in literature and linguistics. Viktor has 6 years of teaching experience in public and private schools and have very interesting and insightful things to share with us today. We are going to have a presentation by Viktor, and we will follow up by Q&A session afterwards. So prepare your questions. Let's welcome our guest speaker, and Viktor, floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Viktor. Thank you very much for a warm welcome. Today, we're going to discuss, and as it was already mentioned, a very interesting educational topic. I hope that our meeting is going to be effective, engaging, entertaining, and I really hope that we all will be able to get something new from it and to see STEM and STEAM educational concepts from different perspectives, since it's a very important topic nowadays. It proves to be very useful and effective. So yeah, let's start then. And of course, if you have any questions on the go, please make sure to text them in the chat section. I will be happy to interact with you and will be happy to answer all your questions. I prepared a presentation for you today, a short one. So again, if you would like to know more about some slides, just let us know. I will make sure to answer all your questions. So let me just share your screen and my screen, and we will start. So STEAM, STEM, and also I have included STEAM educational concept with A in brackets, which is also a thing right now, and we should differentiate, we should distinguish those 3 things altogether. What is it? Why do we use it? Why do we actually have to use it right now? What are the influences of these concepts in modern education? I hope today we're going to answer these questions. I'm sure that all of you know what is STEAM education about and what it stands for: science, technology, engineering, art, and math. When it comes to STEAM with A in brackets, it stands for STEAM, science, technology, engineering, all subjects, and math. Today, we're going to focus mostly on the STEAM without brackets, with arts influences. Also, I have prepared some practical tips and maybe kind of inspiration for you to conduct a very good STEAM lesson. Later on, we will discuss it in more detail. But in order to start this, let's say, educational adventure, we need to start from the very beginning, from the very concept of education, from the traditional approach which we had, which we had not that long ago, and see how education in general, how it transforms and changes according to our, let's say, social, cultural, economical, and other preferences, because all these things are closely connected with the labor market, but everything will be covered very soon. Let's start with the first one, the traditional education and traditional approach to education, how it looked like and what are the distinctive features of this approach. So you can see it on your screen. Let's start with the first one, the teacher-centered lessons. When I say traditional education, I assume we are talking about education which happened 80, 60, 70 years ago, because as any branch of our life, it is evolving quickly, and especially now in this transition age when we have a lot of things happening. But back in the day, it was kind of a stiff process. It was not that easy to change the curriculum. It was not that easy to implement new techniques in the classroom. So basically, teacher-centered lessons, let's assume that the classroom is a solar system, then our solar system, then the teacher is the sun of the classroom. Everything was based on the teacher's authority. It doesn't mean that the teacher nowadays doesn't have any authority as well. Of course not. But back at the day, the teacher was the first and the last source of information, the first and the last instance when to decide any problem, to solve any problem during the educational process in the classroom. Heavy theoretical focus, a lot of emphasis was put specifically to the theoretical basis of every subject. During the whole period of our development as a civilization, something what we study is important for us because we shape the knowledge, and then we teach other people, we transfer our knowledge from one source to another. So education has always been a very important cultural leverage, a very important part of not only educational sphere, but every sphere of our life. So let's assume that you are a student in the country, let's say 60 years ago, and the priority of the country is to build more rockets. So what was done to achieve these goals? Let's print more books, let's print more things containing theoretical basis about rocket science. Let's distribute them among the teachers, let's distribute them among schools, and then at the end of the day, someone will eventually build a rocket. Doesn't matter when, well, actually it does matter, but the deadline was open. It doesn't matter who will do that. The thing is that quantity sooner or later will become the quality. That's not how it works nowadays. We still have a balance between quantity and quality of educational material, but back at the day, a very basic rudimentary approach was fit in the educational environment. Let's give more raw knowledge, let's give more worksheets, books, theoretical material, and then we'll see how it goes. You have the book, you have the curriculum, follow it, and at the end of the day, you will have the necessary skills to do that, to achieve the goal. As I said, nowadays it works in a bit different way. We will see how it works right now, very soon. Limited creativity and student specialness. Well, this point is a little bit exaggerated since we all have educational experience in terms like being students, and I'm sure that we all have the memories of our favorite teacher and, let's say, the teacher whom we didn't like as much. as our favorite one. So when it comes to creativity and when it comes to students' passiveness, it's very much dependent, of course, on the personal motivation of the teacher. And of course, I'm sure 1,000 years ago, there were progressive people who actually knew how to engage their students in the educational process, who knew how to make their lessons interactive and everything connected to that. But again, the creativity itself was not positioned as, let's say, part of the curriculum. Nowadays, we can safely assume that this is a very important aspect of educational process. Many teachers focus on that, and that's great that they do that. So back in the day, it was not considered to be obligatory, unless, of course, students were studying something directly connected to creativity, like art or something else. And even then, this kind of creativity was very mechanized, let's use this word, very limited. That was actually my point. Information transfer was a one-way road. We had the teacher, we had students. The students were recipients of the information. The teacher passed the information, theoretical information mostly, let's say from the curriculum, from the books, to the students. And the subject is more important than skills. That's connected to the second point of this slide, where, as an example, I used rocket science and building some rockets, space rockets. So the subject was important. The skills will come with the theoretical basis. Let's first teach the students how to build a rocket on the paper, and then later on they will figure out how to do that later on in the future. Nowadays, the focus has been changed. Nowadays, the skills should be implemented straight away from the very young age. So education becomes, especially when it comes to education connected to technology, directly or indirectly, it is focused on using these skills from the very young age. So if we go to the next slide, you will see the difference. From the teacher-centered lesson, we are now trying to focus more on each student individually. For student-centered lessons become the core of everything in the classroom. So each student matters individually. Each student has his or her own predispositions and requirements according to many different things. So student-centered lessons is something that is happening right now in terms of curriculum, in terms of activities, exercises, subjects, everything at all. Practical focus is still present, but theoretical focus is still present, but now it's the practical focus is more important than the theory. So when we talk about something connected specifically to subjects that have a rich theoretical base, of course, it is important to transfer the knowledge to the students in terms of theory. But as I said before, we try to implement as many practical assignments, we try to make as many practical skills to be enhanced during the classroom as much as possible. Interactive lessons with creativity encouragement, yes. Curriculum in many different subjects includes the creativity aspect. It doesn't necessarily, it is not connected specifically to the subjects with technological aspect in it. Creativity can be performed in many different forms. Purely technological creativity also exists, and it is also a very important aspect. But in modern classroom, the teacher tries to engage students as much as possible and show them different ways they can apply their creativity, regardless of what is actually happening in the classroom in terms of, education itself. What subject is that? What is the assignment, and so on. This is actually a very generalized idea of STEAM educational concept. To include creativity, to include practical skills as much as possible, and connect different teaching techniques from different disciplines, regardless of the subject they actually have right now. Information transfer is now it is not a one-way road, let's say. It works both ways. So in order to self-improve, in order to, let's say, get the field case study of your personal teaching techniques, the teacher gathers information from students and is being taught, by students as much as he or she actually teaches them. The skills are more important than the subject. Well, it brings us to the previous slide where we discussed rocket science and where we actually have seen how the theoretical focus was important back in the day. Nowadays, let's assume we have the same situation, the same problem, let's say. So we need more engineers, we need more professionals when it comes to technology. So what do we do? Do we enhance our curriculum and our theoretical base? Yes, of course we do. Do we provide a more complex theoretical approach in our classrooms? Yes, we also do that. But now it is important who will build the rocket, how it will be built, and in what way it can be, this process can be enhanced. So we admit that education itself is changing rapidly, so we need to keep up with that trend. Practical skills are everything that we actually need right now. When it is supported by a strong theoretical base, then when STEAM educational concept actually becomes very powerful, let's say it, very efficient, very effective. I'm sure that a lot of people here who gathered here today with me, they do have their own educational experience, and every teacher has his or her own favorite technique on how to conduct their lessons. Teaching methods are very different, and it also depends on the personal preferences of the teacher. These are just some of the teaching methods that are very popular and have been very popular back in the day, nowadays. Gamification. When we talk about technology, games have also evolved, and now we use technology not only for education, but for entertaining purposes as well. I'm sure that you all know that. And games were always a big part of educational process. Since we are working with the young generation, this is the form of activity which is very well perceived by young students, games. And I'm pretty sure that each of you has used some of the games in their classrooms. Self-learning, unfortunately, I noticed the tendency that a lot of people put a lot of emphasis in self-education, self-learning. It is a very important part of educational process in general, that's for sure, but it should only help the educational process, not be the core of it. And of course, it develops a lot of important skills in students, problem-solving skills and research-making skills, which will come in handy later on in their adult life and their professional careers. That's for sure. It is important to find the right balance between self-education and actually implementation of self-education in the classroom. Collaborative learning, this is a very important thing when it comes to STEAM education, since STEAM enhances soft skills and improves soft skills of students, including the skill of working in groups, including communication skills, problem-solving skills. But it's nothing new, I'm pretty sure. Group activities were always there and always will be. Flipped classroom, they're quite an interesting teaching method. It helps the teacher, it shows the teacher how their students will react to a different environment, and they have a chance to see what it is like to be a teacher. A very interesting thing to perform in the classroom, and also gives a lot of useful information, not only in terms of education itself, but also in terms of making this contact with the students and the classroom. So if you have any favorite teaching method or teaching technique, I would be happy to check them and discuss them with you. So please don't be shy to share it with us. Maybe it will be useful for all of us. So basically we have discussed traditional education, modern education and teaching methods that are present nowadays in the classroom. So the general tendency is we can figure out, we can see how the education comes from theory-based curricula to the practice-based curricula. And also we can see how the attitude of the teacher, how the approach of the teachers has changed as well. Practice, soft skills, communication, group activities. This is something that has always been there, but now we admit the fact that it's a very, very useful thing that comes in handy not only when it comes to education itself, but for the personal development of students later on as well. So now let's start to discuss STEAM and STEM educational concepts from the historical perspective, since, as I said before, education has always been the part of something else, something bigger, the part of the bigger picture, historical, cultural, social, many other different aspects. In 1957, Soviet Union has launched the Sputnik in space. It was a huge accomplishment for everyone. It was a huge leap forward in the technology and in the technology development, and it has started a sequence of events that we are experiencing even right now. Back in the day, I'm pretty sure you all know that as well, technological progress was very strong. It had a very strong presence in the global politics and the global culture. It was used as something very important in terms of international negotiations and prestige of the country. Everyone wanted to be the first in something. They all wanted to invent something, to be the first in each discipline. And this particular event caused that NASA in 1958 was founded as the answer to this challenge, and as we can say nowadays, the challenge was accepted and completed. So later on, and starting from this point, technology became governmental. It became a very important political thing. In 1970s and 1980s, Apple's 1984 advertising was launched. It is also a very big. It was also a very big thing back in the day, the cultural phenomenon, which is important even now from the perspective of accessibility of technology. We all know the novel 1984. We all love it, but it is showing the whole social thing, the whole technological advancement thing, in kind of negative aspect. This particular commercial, this advertising, showed how technology can be accessible for everyone, how everyone can get an access to it and get a piece of it in their homes, in their lives. So if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend you do it. So, you know, just to know what was the outcome of this commercial, because this point is considered to be a starting point of even bigger implementation of technology in our lives. Personal computers, laptops, everything else was created later on after it. So it all started from 1984 commercial. In 1990s, the first usage of the STEM acronym was implemented. So back at the day, it was a rough idea on how modern society, how to react to the growing need of specialists in many different technological spheres. And that's the same thing that we are experiencing right now, but it just grew to a different level. But back at the day, it was a rough idea on how we need to focus on technology in education. People started to admit that we don't have enough specialists in many different technological branches. We need more, and we create more and more technological gadgets, let's say, and we don't have enough people to maintain the current level of technological progress. And later on in 10 years, in 2000, 2001, 2002, I think it was in 2002. Educational initiatives in the United States and Europe and other countries has started on the governmental level. So starting from this point, different educational concepts, including STEAM and STEM, were discussed by people who run education in many different countries. And at that time, it actually emerged. STEAM itself is the brainchild of researcher, as you can see on the screen, Georgette Yakman, and it was first developed in 2006. Dr. Yakman had a personal experience in teaching, and she came to the conclusion that making education interdisciplinary and including different techniques in many different subjects into technological concepts and educational topics will enhance and will improve the overall educational outcome. So basically, we take one technological concept, we implement some art techniques in it, and in this way, new kind of skill, new kind of educational value is born. Incorporating arts in STEAM, it's still a big challenge because the idea is great and it works very well right now, but we still are facing the challenges on how to actually implement art and technology together. When we talk about art, the first thing that we think, what is the first thing that pops in your mind when you say the word art? And for me, it's drawing, for example, or just sketching, or something very basic, connected with that. This kind of skill is also implemented in technology, in engineering and other things, but this is the approach of most of the people. We think with a very basic concept of thing, and then we try to implement it into something bigger. We face the challenge, and then we have to overcome it. When it comes to the process of combining these two things together, the challenges are obvious. These are two completely different disciplines that hardly can work together. Apparently they do, and apparently it works very well. And now we're going to see how it actually works. STEM education was the first educational concept, and then STEAM emerged as the addition to it, but then we have it. Then we had it like a separate educational concept. And when we look at the influence of technology on our civilization in general, it had a huge impact. Actually, all our lives are dependent on technology right now. I'm pretty sure that many of you are now using using their phones. We are using things to communicate. No, I don't have to. I'm sure I don't have to describe the importance of technology nowadays. But even starting from agricultural age, even starting from thousands of years ago, technology was something that improved everything, starting from the art of war, the art of negotiation, the art in general. Technology was always there. And it was admitted long ago that it's important, but only now we are trying to implement it in such a deep level. Mechanical age, electrical age, information age, and now we are, many researchers consider our age to be a transformation age, a transition age, since everything is changing so rapidly. We are in the constant process of changing from one stage to another. And as I said before, education is not an exception to it. So we are trying to implement those technological concepts and into education. According to our research, according to other researchers on the internet, on the left side of the screen, you can see the jobs that are present in 2022. And that's how we think the whole idea of implementation of technology in our lives will look like. So basically, the problem still remains the same as it was 80 years ago, 60 years ago. It doesn't matter. We still need specialists. We still need professionals that will be able to maintain the current level of technological advancement. And it's still the same thing. We're creating a lot of gadgets. and we are in the process of their constant improvement. We are lacking people who will maintain the same level of progress. So, as you can see, robotics engineer, I'm pretty sure that you maybe personally know someone who works in this sphere, will be transformed to robotics maintains AI. Especially AI is a very separate topic nowadays. If you have a look at the almost last one, the artist and AI enhanced artist line. Recently, there was some award in art, and these AI neural network has won the main prize. And it was a very heated discussion in the art sphere. Can we consider something created by artificial intelligence to be art? And can we consider it to be something of an artistic discipline? This is a very hard topic, actually, and I still don't know how to answer this question, to be honest. But still, this shows how technology is going through each and every sphere of our life, and even art itself is being influenced by it. So it works both ways. Art in education and education in technology, art and technology, you can make as many combinations as you want. Everything is being interconnected. Other jobs and other occupations like AI engineer, data analyst, drone engineer, everything will be transformed, everything will become different. So it will evolve somehow. Especially the second one, this is actually what I was talking about, AI engineer and AI ethicist. So I'm sure it's not happening right now. We don't have artificial intelligence that's common in our everyday life. But well, actually we do, but it's not that it's not on a sci-fi novel kind of levels. But I'm pretty sure that it will happen soon. It probably will happen while we're still going to be here. So our children, grandchildren probably will have this problem on how to implement the morale, the ethicist kind of aspect into the technological concept of artificial intelligence. So we're trying to think one step forward, one step ahead, in order to face those challenges and be ready to them. And that's where STEAM educational concept is important. That was the theoretical part of our today's meeting. So now we are going to focus more on the practical part of it. There are a couple of experiments that are the part of curriculum, American schools curriculum, many other schools also use that, teachers, separate teachers. So the first one is the concept of buoyancy of an orange. It's a very simple STEM experiment that we will try to convert into STEAM experiment, and we will see what is the difference, and maybe then it will be more visible, it will be more obvious. So basically, the concept is the STEM educational concept is highly dependent on the demonstrational aspect. So in order for students to know what they're studying and connect their theoretical knowledge to the actual events and actual things in real life, the teacher should demonstrate a lot, everything that can be demonstrated should be demonstrated. In this case, this is the concept of the buoyancy of knowledge. It's a very simple thing. You can all do that at home, and it demands minimum effort. So basically what we need is a bowl of water and 2 oranges. One is peeled, as you can see here, and another one is not. So we just put one in the water. One of them is at the bottom, another one is floating. So what is the most important educational value when it comes to this experiment? Was it demonstrated by the teacher? Yes, it has been demonstrated. The students themselves can experience and see themselves this physical concept. It actually brings them closer to the science itself. They can create science themselves. They can do it at home. They can do it with their friends, with their parents, with their teachers. So what is the main objective? You can see them on the screen: to introduce an experimental approach to studies. The second one is to demonstrate the concept, as I mentioned, and to give them the feeling that they can do science on regular and everyday basis. Curiosity about the world and science as well. So this is a STEM experiment. Is it useful from educational perspective? Very useful. But why does it differ from STEAM? What STEAM educational concept? What is different here? What can we add to make it STEAM? So let's assume that the teacher shows it, the students have a look at it, write down everything that they need to write down, and repeat it at home or in the classroom. Where is the art here? There are no soft skills, there are no other skills connected with our discipline that can be useful here. So what could be done? First of all, the easiest way to do it, group activities. Group activity is actually, I personally think that group activity should be the core of the whole STEAM education. Even if you implement some different techniques, it still should be implemented in groups. Every education is performed for groups of students. Well, there are exceptions, of course, but generally it's the group of students you are teaching. Divide the students in groups and assign different tasks for each group. The first one could be the research group. They can, for example, make the plan and make the sketch of the upcoming experiment. The teacher gives the requisites and let's say the agenda of the event, and they need to create the plan for it, starting from very basic things like where to get oranges, where to get water for it, how to organize it. Because when it comes to STEAM education, all problems should be solved. Solving skills are very important. So experimental approach and science itself is not only about conducting the experiment, but there are also some additional things not directly connected to science that should be solved. So let this group take care of those organizational things and let them write a scientific plan of the experiment. So everything should be noted down, the time of the experiment, when it has started, what is the outcome, everything should be reported after it. The second group can be actually the group that will practically implement it and perform the experiment. Both of the groups can do it together, of course, and they can help each other with that. But the second one performs the experiment, does it, while this first one makes records about it. What was the weight of the orange? How long did it take for orange to get to the bottom of the way of the vessel? Everything at all. So that's the scientific approach. A very simple concept which can take 5-10 minutes to be covered in any classroom can be and should be enhanced, but by those additional things, by those additional scientific aspects, scientific approach to it. So group activity, dividing and enhancing the whole experiment. And what educational outcome do we have here? Communication skills, were they improved, were they enhanced by it? Yes, they have been improved. Problem-solving skills also as well, not only scientific, but also some other organizational ones. Everything together combined provides an educational value and also additional skills enhancement, which is very useful not only for the professional careers, but for the adult life as well. Another experiment, it's more an exercise than an experiment, I suppose, but a creative experiment, maze construction experiment. Also a very simple STEM educational activity. Many schools around the world do have additional teaching aids like construction sets. A lot of teachers use them on a regular basis, and regardless if they have it in the curriculum or not. But again, building a maze and, for example, using an educational robot to go from point A to point B through the maze will give them necessary practical skills on how to use technology. That's for sure. What are we lacking here? Again, problem solving, communication, creativity in its pure form, not only technological. So how do we do that again? And the answer is the same, group activities. Let's divide our students in groups and let's assign them a different task. The first one could be the group that designs, that actually makes a sketch of the maze. So let them use their basic art skills in order to draw the maze. They can all discuss it together. They can choose the shape, the form, the length, and also it involves some problem-solving skills, because the teacher should supervise that the maze is not too big or not too small, that it can actually be built in the classroom, so they have all necessary parts for it. So giving additional tasks, problems to be solved in terms of communication, art, and creativity. When this creative task is done, the second group of students can be into the group of engineers, of constructors, of builders who will actually build the maze. Again, groups are interacting with each other, they are helping each other. The second group is building the maze. They all build it together. Actually, we all know that in the classroom it all happens. So they will all work on it. It doesn't matter if we want them to do something else or not. So let them do it, let them share the tasks they're doing together, but still having the responsibility for each particular task is still important. If you were to design the maze, it should be designed, and then you can help out with something else. So let's assume that the maze is built, it's ready. The second group, well, it depends on the activity, it depends on how the activity can be performed in the classroom in terms of tools and things that school and the teacher has. Let's assume that they have educational robots. So then we see if the group is advanced enough to program the robot to go from point A to point B using something simple like block application program or something like that. If not, they can just steer the robot through it. If there is no such possibility, we can just stop the experiment here and use something else like a toy, remote control toy. So it depends, of course. But let's assume that this teaching aid tool is still there, educational robot. So then the third group becomes the IT specialist group. They either remotely control it from A to B, or they can program it to move from point A to point B. It all depends. And later on, for example, next week as an extracurriculum activity, the groups can be changed. The groups they can be assigned different tasks. So the group of engineers can be the group of artists now, and so on and so forth. So again, the basic concept behind this activity is STEM, educational exercise. It still has a very strong demonstrational aspect. You still work with something, you still something material, you still enhance your manual skills, your students' manual skills. But then we add additional techniques connected with art and soft skills, and it becomes more complex, but at the same time becomes more valuable in terms of educational outcome. And that's how it works. That's why we add A in STEM. Another thing, this is on your screen, you can see the example of Michigan Architectural Foundation curriculum, a school in America, which is specialized in curriculum based on architectural concepts. So they are actually preparing young architects from a very, very young age, starting from the first grade, from kindergarten, actually. So this is a perfect example on how to implement STEAM on the global level in terms of curriculum. So implementation of different activities and experiments is important, but it's still up to the teacher when to use it, how to use it. But this is the full curriculum designed specifically for bringing up new architects, young specialists. And the whole curriculum is like that. So basically, kindergarten lesson 1, a very simple scientific concept of geometrical solid figures: circle, square, semicircle, triangle. You can see it on the screen. The next task is to ask students, have a look at this picture. How many circles can you see in this building? How many rectangles can you see in that building? A very simple approach, but this is actually how it works. Starting from very young age, 5, 6, 7 years old, they will already get used to the very basic architectural skills And then we also include some basic scientific topics there, like circles, squares, and triangles right here. The second one, the second slide with this connected to these activities, 5th grade, and we have two kind of activities here. So the first one on the right looks like a map. It is a map, and on the left you can see characters, scenes, so basically an exercise in storytelling. How can it be implemented in terms of STEAM? Let's assume that you have a group of students and your objective is to build the biggest and the most beautiful city in the world. And you said a fantasy background there, so it's a kingdom, a realm, and someone should be a king, someone should be a queen, a trader, and so on. You distribute those characters. So I'm pretty sure if you had a group of students, a lot of them, someone would shout, "I would like to be a king, I would like to be a trader." So you can actually come up with the characters yourself with the students, and then write a story on how to build a perfect city. After that, the map of the landscape where the city should be built also can be created by students and the teacher together. This is, I don't even know what to start with. It can be used in so many different ways, starting from coloring the whole map picture or just writing some parts of the story. Each student will write their part of the story and then playing it out with the actual roles, with the actual props in school. It's just gives tons of opportunity to do that, to implement STEAM educational concept on the global level, on the level of curriculum of educational establishment. So that's, I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago implemented in the school. It was implemented in the form of the experiment, but I'm pretty sure that this experiment is still going on and proves to be very efficient. And this is a perfect example on how something focused specifically on technology or on some specific topic, in this case our architecture, can be and should be enhanced by different artistic skills, problem solving skills, soft skills, communication, and so on. So this brings us to the conclusion. STEAM educational concept, some distinctive features of it: communication, collaboration, something that I mentioned a couple of times already, critical thinking and problem solving, and creativity. On the other hand, we have STEM, which has a very similar concept, but still it is more focused on technology itself. When we have creativity in STEM, we have creativity of pure technological, in a pure technological form. When we have scientific focus, we have a hard scientific focus. So science, theory, and the whole scientific approach to education is more important than actual implementation of other implementation of skills from other disciplines. And technology is the main force of the progress. It's the same thing. It's not only in STEAM and STEM, it is just in general, we have technology as the main force of the progress, but STEM educational concept makes a very, emphasizes it a lot, that technology should be focused and everything else should be studied separately or just be implemented to a minimum level. And this is it from my side. I hope that you liked the presentation, and if you have any questions right now on the go, I will be happy to answer them. Thank you very much for your attention.
Oh, great. Thank you, Viktor, for such a nice presentation. There were like so many things told about and so on, and these practical exercises this one is really great. We had some discussions on our chat. Our participants were very amazed by this quote that you mentioned: "The teacher is the son of the system." So we asked to elaborate more, and we've got like some nice things like the stream which watered the forest, a teacher is an artist who models. What do you think on that one?
So could you repeat the question, please? I was actually reading through other comments.
Okay, I was just like talking about the metaphors related to the statement that you made, like teacher is the son of the system. So we had participants, who elaborated more and mentioned like the stream which waters the forest. A teacher is an artist who models. So sounds great, right?
Great. I couldn't, say it better myself. So yeah, basically we still could consider teachers to be the part of the system, because our general approach to all the things is to make the system out of everything. Education is not an exception. So of course we tend to segregate different responsibilities, different roles in the classroom, in the educational branch, but the overall position of the teacher in the educational process, it's hard to overestimate its importance. So I think the metaphor about the stream in the forest is very nice. It helps the forest grow. It makes it the part of the global picture of the nature, but still, the teacher is very independent in terms of personal motivation, in terms of techniques he or she can use. But it's a very sensible topic as well, because we all need to make the right choices there, because this is something that will have a great and huge influence on future lives, future generations. So yeah, it's very important.
Okay, great. So we also have some questions in our chat, which comes from Florin. Why did we relate education to government, and why we still do? To me, it is no longer necessary to involve the government into education. And then further on, how can we imagine, educational system in which the government is not involved?
Yeah, I actually see the comment, can you imagine an education system in which the government is not involved? And the short answer is no, I cannot. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends on your opinion, education, one of the outcomes of the education is that we get more specialists, more professionals in different fields that will be roughly let's say used by the government and our respective countries after it. So no, I also think that education itself is a very independent concept, and it doesn't need any intrusion from the government. But in our reality, unfortunately, I don't see how we can do that. It brings me to ancient Greek times, when education was mostly, especially when it comes to, let's say, royal family and other important people for the government itself. It was individual, so it was important to raise a wise king. It was important later on to raise a wise member of the royal family. So unfortunately, education, politics, and as I said before during the presentation, and history itself is so interconnected that it's hard to separate them. And later on, education itself brings a lot of makes a huge influence on the general shape of the country, of the government. It's a very interesting topic, actually. I'm sure I will think more about it.
Yeah, I'm sure that this topic is quite, like comprehensive, and to find like the right answer at this specific moment is a very, challenging task, I would say.
Yeah, like Florin Alexandru just mentioned, personally, I've learned quite a lot and used the knowledge on my own. And yes, this is actually the point of it. The knowledge is there. It's up to you just to get through it. Of course, the teacher is important in terms of guiding the students through it, but you can learn a lot yourself. But again, we are influenced by the government, we're influenced by the countries we live in, so maybe someday in the future, in the better future.
Okay, so we do have like 5 minutes left, and there were also a couple of questions on, you mentioned this IA, enhanced artist space, great highlight, and where can we see some examples of that one, if you know?
You mean the examples of AI?
Art space, yeah, artist spaces that you mentioned.
I'm pretty sure that you have encountered them. They're very popular nowadays. You have a lot of those neural systems that do randomize the images on their own. You just set up the your settings, and it produces you with let's say the ready-made piece of art. I meant this thing. I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure that AI is being used in many other different spheres of art, but I was talking about these actual what are they called? Neuro systems, I suppose. I'm not sure about that. I will have to check it again. But yeah, this is the thing that creates random images according to your settings that you set. It brings it brings more questions than answers, because it was created basically to make our lives easier, but now it only seems to get more complicated because of that.
Mm-hmm. And also, actually, one of our participants, Florin, mentioned that in Romania, there are some art galleries started to expose AI-enhanced images. So
yeah,
maybe to check there as well. So, and we also have the question about design thinking. If it falls somewhere between STEM and STEAM, what do you think on this one?
Well, yeah, basically, technically, what actually we do here in Skriware, just a short insight, we do have a special part of curriculum in terms of designing, 3D modeling and everything else. And the design thinking as educational concept itself, also a very useful one, because it also has the demonstrational purpose of STEM. It also provides all the necessary challenges when it comes to collaborative learning, group activities, problem-solving skills. It's definitely somewhere there, and it should be there to make those concepts even better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks for answering this one. We also got the question from Alketa, can Albania be part of the Meet and Code project? I guess this question is to me. Unfortunately, this year we wrapped up with all the events that were happening, but stay tuned for the next year, and maybe Albania will be a part of it next year. Just in case of, sign up for our social media challenges and check the news from us there. And also, I wanted to ask you like the question as well, that we talked today about STEM and how this concept in education changed into STEAM, adding art into curricula. With the rapidly changing environment and technology development, what do you see as the next step of evolution of the acronym STEAM and this educational approach in general?
Well, basically, the third acronym that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, STEAM as the all subjects, when STEM is influenced by all subjects, not only art. So we are actually experiencing it right now. So STEM, STEAM, and now STEAM A in brackets. And I think it will only get better in terms of different disciplines combined together. I cannot predict something that will happen in 50, 60 years. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm pretty sure that it will be even more interdisciplinary. It will be even more interconnected with other different scientific and educational topics. So this process of being merged with other scientific disciplines will definitely continue. And it will become even more flexible and even more universal. In what practical manifestation it will happen, it's yet to be seen, but I'm sure we will see it soon.
Yeah, great things will come.
Great things will come, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we have 1 minute left. So we're gonna end up with our webinar for today. Thank you, Viktor, for such a nice presentation. Thank you, dear participants, that you found time to connect to our Meet and Code webinar about STEM and STEAM. Yeah, we've got the request to do more of this. We'll keep that in mind, and we'll try to invite lots of interesting speakers to talk about this up-to-date topics of your interest. Thank you very much, Viktor, for being with us today, and see you soon. And I wish everybody to have a lovely evening or day, or wherever you are located at this moment.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.